Bad art teachers are unfortunately a common experience for a lot of people, and I'm going to be sharing my experience with a bad art teacher today and how it has affected my relationship with my creativity, with my interests, with sketchbooks, with perfectionism, and the things I've been doing to heal from that over the years. Bad art teachers are different person to person. Everyone's experiences with them are going to be different. I'm sharing my experiences today in hopes that it might help some other people in some way. Maybe you can take away something from this, or even if you just feel less alone from hearing my experiences, I hope that it helps some people in some way that I'm sharing this. But to start off, our art teacher used to rip up our paintings, our sketchbooks, our drawings, and our interest boards, like our mood boards. She would rip up everything. And as you can tell, I haven't scripted this out, so we're kind of going with freeform thought here. So what would happen is we'd be in art class and she would stop everyone. Everyone would stop what they were doing, and then she'd go around each student one by one, and she would go through the paintings you were working on, the finished drawings you were doing, and then she would go through your sketchbooks. And as is the case for most schools, they don't teach you art, they don't teach you how to draw, they don't teach you how to paint, they don't teach you anything actually useful most of the time. So whenever she did the ripping up, it wasn't with any form of helpful criticism. There wasn't any, this head is in the wrong position, the perspective of this is off, you need to do this, this, and this. None of that ever happened. What would happen is she would say, no, or ugh, or some form of disgusted face, shaking her head, disgusted noise, and then start ripping things up. So she would stop the class, she would come to you, look through everything you'd done, make noises, rip them all up. Our sketchbooks weren't spiral bound, they were stitch bound, so she would rip pages out of stitch bound sketchbooks, tear them up, and then get you to throw all of that in the bin. And again, there was no constructive criticism, there was no, you need to improve this. And even if there was you need to improve this, I've never really heard of a teacher then ripping up what you'd made. It was a case of start again or something like that. I've heard from other people. But in her case, there was no constructive criticism and she would just rip everything up. And again, this wasn't just the drawings that you did, it was the inspiration boards that you made as well. We would sometimes be tasked with making inspiration boards or mood boards for projects. Sometimes these would be for specific points in art history, or they'd be to learn more about a specific artist, but sometimes they were mood boards of our interests for a potential long-term project. And she would rip those up. And when you were a child, remember, we were children. When you are a child, you are still trying to figure yourself out. You're still trying to figure out your place in the world. You're still trying to figure out your interests. You're trying to figure out a lot of things. And to have someone take a thing that you made to try and figure out what you like, make a disgusted noise, and then rip it up in front of your classmates, only for her then to go do that to other classmates as well, it messes you up. It messes you up. And then combine that with having your sketches ripped up, your paintings ripped up, your drawings ripped up as well, with no constructive criticism. You were either good or you were bad, and that was it when it came to your interests and with the things that you made. And this obviously messed people up in my year, and I imagine the years above and below me as well. It got to the point where people would have their parents come in to complain to the school, but nothing was ever actually done about it. Nothing ever changed. The most change that ever happened was because of some people in my year ended up going on strike, essentially, and then it kind of got a little bit better, but by that point, the damage had been done. And for a lot of people, it messed up their relationship with art. It either gave them rampant perfectionism, or they became terrified of sketchbooks, they became terrified of doing a finished painting, because they might have spent like 50 hours on a painting only for it to get ripped up, and that to happen multiple times. It made them not want to pursue their interests or think that their interests were bad. It did all kinds of things to people. And I knew one guy in my year who was interested in comics. He drew comics all the time, both in and outside of art class, and he got those ripped up whenever he did like anything to do with comics. They were always ripped up. There was someone in my year who wanted to go into concept art for game design. That was all ridiculed and all ripped up. My interests were ridiculed and ripped up, and I still remember vividly the face and noise she made when she ripped up a mood board I did once in my sketchbook, and that was on fantasy illustration. So in terms of how this impacted me and my relationship with art, I ended up dropping art, and I no longer worked in sketchbooks. I no longer did any paintings anymore, but I still drew, because for all of my life I've had this unshakable need to draw. It's like an itch that it gets worse and worse the longer you don't scratch it. But what was once me working in sketchbooks became sketches and doodles on the side of my university notes, or sketches on loose sheets of paper. I couldn't keep sketchbooks. I tried, but I couldn't. I'd be terrified of them. And I also couldn't really handle improving at art, even if I wanted to. It would eventually just catch up with me again, the perfectionism, the fear of judgment, and all of this. And it took a long time for me to work through that and overcome it. But the thing that got me going was I just became tired. I became so tired of how much it was controlling me and how much it was impacting my creativity. I did not want her impacting my life and my creativity any more than she already had when I was a child. So I started to work on it. I started to try out a bunch of different things. That's my main takeaway from this. I recommend that you try out a bunch of different things, keep an open mind, and figure out what works for you. I'll tell you the things that worked for me, but everyone is different, and it is going to be different what you need. For me, the massive thing that helped me was keeping a safe house sketchbook. If you're interested in me going into more detail on a safe house sketchbook, what one is, how to keep it, etc., I can definitely do a video on that, just let me know. But for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to briefly go over everything. Journaling really helped me out. Again, if you feel like it's really bad for you, do not be afraid to seek either self-help or to seek help from other people, or to even go to therapy if it's really bad. Do not be afraid to seek out help. And along the same lines as that, find community, find people that you can talk to, that you can have a support network with. Community is a massive thing to help you out as well. So yeah, safe house sketchbook, community, and journaling, those were massive things in helping me overcome a lot of this. And how long it takes you will be different person to person. But no matter how long it takes you, you are eventually going to get there. You're going to overcome it if you keep going. It doesn't matter how slow you take it, how gently you take it, or how intense you go at trying to overcome it. You'll eventually get there, but you have to find what works for you in a healthy way, a healthy, sustainable way. And I feel now in a place where I can talk about this. I'm able to post online. I have a much healthier relationship with my sketchbooks now. I finish my sketchbooks. I have finished multiple sketchbooks over the years, and I'm slowly starting to figure out what I like to do now, and not being as afraid about finding out what I like to do and what I want to do. Thank you for listening to me ramble about my story, and hopefully it was helpful to at least someone out there. But if not, I hope that it was interesting watching me paint this cheetah portrait. It was a really fun experiment trying out different textures, and I'll see you next time. Bye!